Malcolm for USA Today. I'm joined by Jeff Reeves, one of USA Today's contributing writers, and today he's here to talk to us about disability insurance. So Jeff, tell us, why should someone consider disability insurance?
Well, basically, you want to protect your ability to earn, which is one of the most important assets you have. I mean, we're all hard workers. We want to make a lot of money during our working life, but the Social Security Administration says that 1 in 4 Americans who are 20 years old have a chance of becoming disabled by the time they're 67. That's a huge percentage. When you consider that the average person maybe makes 50 grand a year, if you knock off 10 years of your working life, that's $500,000. And that's a lot of money that you wouldn't have otherwise. If you can get disability insurance for a couple $100 a month, or even a couple $100 a year if you're a very healthy person in a younger age group like we are, it's a pretty good investment or protection for you to make.
So you outlined several options. What's the most basic plan?
Well, most employers, if they offer you as a disability insurance through work, it's going to be a group plan. And a group plan is like any typical insurance pool. You have a large number of people who get together to kind of mitigate risk. So it's nice in that respect that you can bring down your costs, but you have to understand that as a group plan, the benefits are fixed and flexible. They're not made to order for the person. So you may, for instance, have a very long lead time before you kick in for disability insurance. It's called a waiting period. And if you're worried about maybe getting hurt and not having enough income even for a couple months, that may not be the right option for you. Or if they have other restrictions, like say they only pay 50 or 60% of your salary, and you want to protect a little bit more of your income, maybe you want to shop around outside the group. But the group is typically what you have through your employer. So I would start there and see what you have. If that doesn't foot the bill, then maybe look somewhere else.
So if you are going to look somewhere else, what other plans are out there?
Well, the plans that you can go for, they basically come in 2 flavors. There's an individual plan where you would just go out as an individual person and try to find something on the open market on your own. And again, that's predicated on the fact that you're going to be a pretty good clientele for this insurance company. I mean, they're out there to make a profit. So if you're an older American who's making a lot of money and you have a good chance of being disabled, your premium is going to be very, very high. But for people like us who are reasonably healthy and we're young, we don't make all that much money, it's going to be a lot cheaper for us to make our disability payments each month than it would for someone who's in a high risk group. So you can shop alone, and then the other option is to kind of go the supplemental route where you take your group insurance, say that only covers 60% of your income. If you want to get to 80%, you can go through a company like the one that has the duck, Aflac, is the one that everybody knows. It gives you an extra 20%, and maybe you can cover some in-between expenses while you're waiting for your other disability insurance to kick in if it has a shorter lead time. So some of the things that you should look for in those would be, like I said, the waiting period of your disability insurance. There's something called own occupation, which means they actually make sure that there's a job in your profession as opposed to going from something like, say, a dentist. If you work with your hands, if your hand gets hurt, you maybe be a telemarketer, but you don't like that, and if that doesn't give you as much income, then that's not an option you want on your disability plan. So I'd say look at what your own situation is for money and for your job, and then what your group insurance offers you, and then see whether it's worthwhile to stay there, go somewhere else, or maybe bridge the gap with supplemental insurance.
Great. Thanks so much for this information, Jeff. We appreciate it. For more on the Money Matters series, head to usatoday.com/money.
Let me make sure I stop that thing. All right, so I thought that was really cool and insightful, and it's nice that they actually mention Aflac in there. But see, here's the problem. They did a 40,000 foot overview, but he did point out some major problems with disability as we know it today. Not at Aflac, but group plans. Now, Aflac does offer a group short-term disability. How group short-term disability works versus our normal individual product, group is very rigid, and so you typically have a 0-14, a 14-day waiting period before the disability insurance will kick in. And that's like our group plan has a similar feature to it. But then it's kind of rigid. You can't really manipulate it and customize it to fit your needs as an individual. Now, that's group. We do very little group disability benefits. We do more of, now the county has it, but we do more of the individual side. Now, what he wasn't aware of is we are true short-term disability. He might have been talking on a national scale. So like in California, they have state disability, and then you come in and supplement that disability with Aflac, and we just cover a portion. Here in Arizona, there is no state disability. So you are literally out on your own. If you get sick or hurt and you can't work, you're out of luck. Okay, there's nothing to back you up here in the state of Arizona unless you have Aflac. And so in Arizona, we are true short-term disability. So we're going to cover a couple of things. we're covering the individual disability benefit. And so remember the kind of negative things that he talked about. He said, there's not much maneuverability, or you can't customize your plan to fit your needs. Also, group plans are not usually portable, where if you leave your job and go to another job, you can't take that disability insurance with you. Here at Aflac, your individual short-term disability is completely portable. Wherever you sign up for that, you can get that disability and then take it with you wherever you go, which is really cool. It is not intended to compete with group disability. So when group disability is in place, then we turn into a supplemental chassis where we're just going to come in and fill in the voids, find the missing puzzle pieces in their plan. And like he was talking about, hey, if they're only covering 60% or 50% or sometimes 40%, Aflac can come in and fill that gap. The other thing is and I did not put this in here, but it's important for you to know when you're talking to your decision maker, is you want to find out if you have disability, when does it kick in? Then when does it end? Okay, now where it ends, when does long-term disability pick up for the employee? So most of the time I find holes when they do have a group plan where it may be a 3-month employer paid short-term disability, and then their long-term disability doesn't kick in for 6 months until 6 months after the person becomes disabled. Now think about that. You have 3 months as a family where there's no income coming in. How do you pay your rent? How do you pay your health insurance premiums? Well, how do you pay for food, right? I mean, 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. They can't go 3 months without disability. So what we can do is customize a plan that we can carve it out to kick in on the 90th day. So you get sick or hurt and you can't work, the short-term disability offered by the employer is paying you for your first 3 months. Then we kick in on the 90th day, and then we'll stop for 90 days, basically having a 6-month period, a 6-month benefit, but it kicks in 90 and ends in 6 months when the long-term disability kicks in. So you as an Aflac associate, unlike other carriers, you have the power to carve out a plan that fits that specific employer and employee need. It's really cool. Designed to enhance existing short-term disability or provide disability benefits where companies don't offer disability. Primary Aflac short-term disability provides a source of income, very basic. Keep it simple. When you get in the weeds sometimes and you're discussing short-term disability with somebody that doesn't do insurance, they can get kind of muddled in it. You want to keep it clean and you want to keep it clear. So the most valuable benefits that employees talk about the most are in health insurance, vacation, sick leave, disability insurance, and dental insurance. So disability is right there. I mean, even before dental, but I don't know if this is ranked based on need. But let me ask you a question. The biggest benefit to going to work is what? Your paycheck. So it's not even listed because we have been conditioned as a society to think when I say employee benefits, you say health insurance. I say employee benefits, you say 401k. We can play that game. But really, you can't have health insurance doesn't work unless you have some type of backup plan that's going to pay for those premiums when you're sick or hurt and you can't work. So health insurance will not function if you're living paycheck to paycheck without a backup plan like Aflac. It won't function. You're in the hospital for 3 months, they drop you, never mind the deductible, you're paying the whole health insurance, hospital bill. So it's very serious. Only 37% of workers across the board in the U.S. have disability insurance, okay? Now that says that they have, disability available to them. In Arizona, it's hovering right around the 19 to 20% mark. So we're not even close to the national average. And that's just the little bit of research that I did. When polled, nearly all employees would take short-term disability if it was only offered. Okay, so even if 37% of people in Arizona are offered short-term disability, what's happening with, 63, yeah, 63% of what's with the rest of the people? 80%. MetLife did a study, one of our competitors. MetLife did a study and they did a poll, and guess what happened? 80% of the people they polled said they'd buy short-term disability if it was just offered to them. They would buy it. They would pay for it. Employers, when polled, didn't want to add additional cost. So they just, bottom line here in Arizona, we're seeing minimum wage increases, and really across the board in multiple states. We're seeing minimum wage increases, tighter restrictions on employers and employees both. Vacation or paid time off, sick leave, things like that are coming into play now. They don't want to add another dollar in health insurance premiums, okay? But there are some that take advantage of this and actually do pay for it for their employees. So your goal with the employer is to increase consideration. When you sit down with the employer, it's not trying to go, hey, listen, I want to have them say yes. Like we're not looking for a yes, we're looking for dates of enrollment, okay? So all we want to do is start talking to them and say, hey, listen, some of the things that employers don't like to do is cash advances. When you think about these paycheck advances, when you think about these small employers that are in most of our markets, they have 3, 5, 10 employees, and then an employee breaks his leg. The owner knows the family. He feels bad because the guy's a pool guy and he can't go to work. So he starts cutting checks. He's not a bank. He's in business. He's got a bottom line to deal with. And what if that employee never comes back to work? He just loses all that money, okay? Because there's no recourse to that. You can't follow up and sue or anything like that because the guy just can't cut him a check, right? So we need to keep the employers out of the loan business, out of the banking business, and into cleaning pools, okay? Get them focused in on what they need to do. Our product is specifically to the small to medium-sized businesses on the individual market. You're looking at anywhere between anything under 100 lives, right? 3 lives all the way up to 99 lives. And then we want to start maybe thinking about a group chassis when they start hitting 100 or more, just because of the cost factor and things like that. Sometimes we can save them some money. Reallocating cost. Businesses don't want to take money from one place, rob Peter to pay Paul, and they don't want to, like I mentioned, give cash advances. Reduce paycheck advance to injured workers, like I mentioned, this is kind of hovering around the same topic I was touching on. Provide strong benefits. 38% of employees said that they would go and go to another employer if they had better benefits. 38%. That's a live statistic that's happening right now. So this is a way for them to help retention and increase productivity. Attract and retain employees. Okay, man, it seems like I'm touching on the next one, I guess, because I wrote it maybe. So differentiate Aflac, guaranteed issue short-term disability when you're sitting down with the employer. Again, portability, they can take it with them. Flexibility, there is more flexible options in Aflac short-term disability than any disability benefit I've ever seen. And then we add in a new value rider. So the challenges, why do they say no? Does the employer see the difference with Aflac short-term disability? Okay. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I probably shouldn't. I don't think that I can tap into this through my, is there a way? I taped last night I watched a commercial. It was for Sokolov Law Firm, okay, law firm. And they were talking about one of our biggest competitors, Colonial and Unum. And they were saying that these people, and I'll let the people in this room see this video after we're done, but literally there's a ad for our competitors, Unum, Colonial, New York Life, all right? New York Life's not really a big competitor of ours because they just primarily sell life, but here's what happened. They are putting ads out there saying that these people decline disability claims that are rightfully due their customers. You don't see that from Aflac. You know why? We do what's right. These companies that I got to kind of tune you in. Remember that guy on that video said they're all about making a profit? So Aflac started with 3 brothers that they saw their dad go through cancer and they lost everything, okay? And then those little boys grew up and they said, you know what? There's got to be a company that prevents this from happening to families. So we got to create a company that pays cash so people don't lose their homes. That's why we were founded. That's the heart and the core of Aflac. Now, we're profitable because we do the right thing. But these other companies that are out there, they look at Aflac and they say, look at this behemoth. Look at this giant. They insure over 50 million people. They take in $2.7 billion in net premiums. this thing is massive and their sales keep growing year over year. We need to be like that. No, they're looking at the profit. They're not looking at the people. And that's the difference in what we do here at Aflac. See, if you tell that to an employer and they're debating whether to offer you or Colonial, and I don't even need to dish Colonial. I don't need to talk bad about them. I'm going to tell you what, you go with that kind of passion, you can't, there's not a door you can't open. You might have to follow up, but there's not a door you can't open out there. You got to have that kind of conviction. They think price is the only difference, right? Now, one-day pay is not available on short-term disability. And the reason is we need a form from the employer, a form from the doctor, and a one-page form from the employee. So it's not one-day pay, but our average turnaround is 3 days, 3 to 4 day turnaround on payment for claims on short-term disability. There is nobody faster on the entire planet than Aflac in paying short-term disability. So there's a lot bigger. When do the employee need? When do they need their paycheck? They need it today. In fact, they needed it yesterday when the bills hit the mailbox. Aflac's going to pay you, and they're going to pay you now, and you don't have to sue us to get your money. Guaranteed issue up to $4,000 per month with no medical underwriting. That's a big difference. That's a huge differentiator because we can say yes to everybody between 18 and 74 and give them coverage. It's huge. Simplified underwriting, which means a lot less questions than you'd normally go through under normal short-term disability qualification, and that's up to $6,000 a month in disability benefits. So this is full on short-term disability. Standard participation, a new account, 3 new policy holders, and existing accounts, ASTD, which is Aflac short-term disability, can be added as long as we can educate all eligible employees. Now notice that, and I'll be honest with you, most of this information I got from the verbiage I got from Aflac, but I'm going to tell you something. I wrote that last sentence. Existing accounts can offer Aflac guaranteed issue short-term disability as long as we can educate all employees. It does no good for the employer, for the employees, if we just sit in a closet or sit in a cubby hole and wait to see if somebody sees us. No. Benefits need to be communicated in a fair and consistent manner. So to give everybody the same shot at the benefits and to learn and be educated, that's what my job is. Now, whether they get it or not has nothing to do with me. It has to do with them because I just want to give them the power of choice. Well, what if they're not even interested? Well, at least if they sit down and get that information, maybe they're not interested this year, but then they can go home and talk to their spouse about it. And maybe next year when I come back, they realize we're not trying to sell them stuff, that we're just trying to educate them, and they'll feel comfortable sitting down with me. So do you mind if I educate each one of your employees so that they all get a fair crack at the benefits? I mean, that's how I talk to employers. Like it's not pushy. It's offering. It's opening the door. It's not trying to get my way. It's trying to help their employees. That's the way I position myself in conversations. Minimum income requirements. This is really cool because when I started it was 15 grand and I think you had to work 29 hours or something like that. Aflac dropped this down because I don't want to go into the reason why, but for various reasons, people are working less hours than ever before. So Aflac dropped it down to $9,000 per year. You can offer short-term disability to them, and they only need to work an average of 19 hours or more per week. So what sets us apart from other disability providers continued? Class E, you do not have to wait. This is something that's new. So if you're on the call and you're a veteran, you used to have to wait 12 months of employment to get access on a Class E case. What's Class E for the new people? Fast food, okay, counter service, that kind of deal. Sometimes a bar with a restaurant will have an E-class rating. It jumps up by about 75 cents a week on like the accident plan, for instance. On this, it's just rated into their age band, but they can now get it right away, which is really cool. I signed up at Quiznos. Give you an idea, I signed up Quiznos, and that was an E. Okay, coverage is allowed with workman's comp. Don't let anybody tell you any differently than this. This is exact verbiage from Aflac. You can have workman's comp and Aflac short-term disability. If no workman's comp is enforced, Aflac will allow the individual to have 100% of coverage on the job. And that's new. To be honest, when I was I didn't have this option. So this is a big tool in your tool bag. Waiver of premium benefit. Aflac will waive premiums if the client is disabled for more than 90 consecutive days. Waiver of premium, I put Bob. I thought it was kind of cool. So anyway, waiver of premium will last as long as the employee's benefit period. Now, here's the cool thing. Does health insurance waive your premiums if you're sick or hurt, you can't work for 90 days? Nope, it still do. But not Aflac. You don't have to worry about us. We're here just to pay you, not take from you when you're out for that period of time. And when you get back, you just resume your normal premium payments that you signed up for originally. You will not get an increase in premium. You don't have to pay that money back. This is your benefit. Man, talk like that when you're doing the presentation. I'm not saying be like me. Okay? I'm not perfect. But, you know, it's the conviction. It's the, you know, and I'm telling you, what speaks through me right now is the thousands of customers that I have helped to make sure that there's food on the table. That's who speaks through me today. And until then, you just got to kind of grab what I have and use it until you have those stories yourself. Partial disability benefits, Aflac will pay 50% of the benefits for up to 3 months. That sets us apart as well. A lot of the short-term disability plans don't have a partial disability benefit, don't have a waiver of premium benefit. So the GI availability, guaranteed issue, we can say yes to everybody. Accounts with A rating, B rating, C rating, and E rating. Now, an interesting thing, when it's a D, you can't offer disability. Remember that. D, no disability. D, no disability. You don't want to start chalking up disability and selling them the value, and then all of a sudden you do a SIT code and it's a D. Like, that's horrible. Like, you know, so what I do is I like to do a SIT code before I meet with the employer, so I know what their rating is, and then when I'm talking to them, I don't bring up short-term disability. They can't even get it. So just kind of an idea, just a heads up. For up to $4,000 a month, guaranteed issue. I mean, that is huge. You think about that. That is massive for a family. 3 or 6 months of coverage. Okay, so if they want anything over the $4,000 a month or over that 6-month period, they are going to have to undergo simplified underwriting. $9,000 a year of income is required, working 19 or more hours per week, and then actively working at the time of application. You can't sign somebody up in the hospital, or just never in insurance. Just don't ever sign unless that you're enrolling in the hospital, which we need to do. All right, so we need that account. Availability, issue ages from 18 to 74. When I started it, I feel like I'm talking like, you know, you walk up both hill or uphill both ways to school in 6 feet of snow, that kind of. But when I started with 64, now it's 74 because people are working longer. Aflac wants to cover them in those later years. A minimum of $9,000 in income. I know some of this is repetitive. It's on purpose to log it into your brain. 19 or more hours a week. Accounts, three or more employees, and they must be participants. We have to have 3 or more employees participating in any of our benefits, and one person by themselves could get short-term disability if the other 2 get like the accident plan or cancer coverage or something like that. If only one person needs it, we can provide it to that one person, which is really nice. Most disability plans don't give you that flexibility. Guaranteed issue, again, is 3 and 6 months, maximum of $4,000 a month in GI. Simplified underwriting at $6,000 per month. Income replacement, 60% at $3,000. Now, what I put this example out there so you could see this. We do not do pre-tax. It is a bad practice. Please do not encourage, do not put any, and we can, the Aflac gives you the availability to do this. Do not do it. And here's the reason why. The employer then now has to, when the disability premium gets paid, the disability benefit gets paid out to the employee, it doesn't go directly to the employee. It has to go right through payroll. Payroll now has to take out taxes and has to do all that calculation and send now the check. So it delays claim payment to the customer when they need it the most. The other side, it caused chaos for HR and payroll. They go nuts. Leave it alone, okay? The other reason, I don't want them to get taxes taken out. When you get 60%, you're getting 60% clean. You're not getting Social Security taken out, FICA, any other deductions. You're just getting that money clean to your home, and that's where it needs to be. Benefit periods that we offer. excuse me, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18, all the way up to 24 months of coverage. So that is huge. Elimination period. Boy, zeros here. It cut off for some reason on my screen. So 07. What does that mean? The first number, if you look at a brochure, in fact, you can open, if you want to open one up and take a look at it, if you have one in front of you. So you open up the brochure and you turn to page, actually, I think it's the first page. Yep, the first page that's showing, it says coverage options, and you go to elimination periods. The first number on there is injury. Okay, so when you get injured, and these are the employee can select whatever option that they want. So 07, the employee gets hurt, we start replacing their income on the first day they start missing a payday, right? They hurt themselves on the weekend, they see the doctor writes them out of work, Monday's the first day you're missing work, that's when we're gonna start replacing your income, that quick. On the 7, you say, what 7 means? 7 is sickness. So that means if you get sick, we're not going to pay you for the sniffles, all right? You're going to get flu, 24-hour bug. That's not what it's designed for. Bless you. The doctor writes you out for 2 weeks. We're going to pick you up on the second week, and then we're going to pay you for up to 24 months if that's the coverage you choose, all right? Now, sometimes what happens when you're enrolling somebody, you got to think about cost, and you got to think about their need, all right? So why we give you a 014, let's say that the 07 is a little bit too expensive for the client. And then they're thinking injury is the main thing that I'm concerned with, okay? We want to keep that injury locked in at 0 so they're getting paid on the first day. But we can space that out on the sickness to the 14th day. Now the 14th day, that'll drop their price. Now if that's still too expensive, you can go 7-7, but then they have to wait a week. Now, what if somebody is really, hey, man, I don't think I'm going to get sick. I'm like a lot of people in this room. I'm young. I'm bulletproof. You know, I can walk through walls and stuff like that. So I'm not worried about getting sick. Man, when somebody talks to me like that, I jump down to 0-30. If you're 90% of your concern is injuries, I'll go 0-30. It'll drop your rate like a rock, man, and you're getting paid on the first day of an accident, okay? But 7-7 is waiting a week on both sickness or injury. 7-14 is 1 week on injury, 2 weeks on sickness. But why in the heck, when you jump down to 30-30, when 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, why would you have 30-30? Okay, I was helping out a firefighter. When they say, oh, I don't need short-term disability, I got PTO. It's going to come up a lot now. Mm-hmm. PTO. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you tend to use your paid time off or your sick leave? Well, yeah. I mean, some companies like fire departments allow you to accrue them. Year over year, you get to keep them. So you get to bank it, you know. One guy I sat in front of that I sold short-term disability told me flat out, man, I don't need disability. I said, okay. How much PTO time? And it's firefighter. Well, how much PTO time you got? He goes, I got, what was it, 400 hours? Yeah, 400 hours of PTO. And I go, okay. So can you guarantee me that you can keep a month kitty decide? Because that's 10 weeks. You're going to use it, right? Vacation, take time off, and say, oh, yeah. And I said, so that's 10 weeks. Can you make sure you keep 4 at all times? And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay, so what I will do is take this thing down to a 30-30 elimination. So you keep that PTO for the first month, all right? They're gonna pay you. And then we'll kick in on the 30th day. That way, if you burn up all your PTO time, man, you still get a paycheck. He goes, how much is that? It was like 70% less. I mean, it was just nuts. And so 60% less probably. But anyway, he goes, I can't afford not to do it. So the guy that told me I don't need short-term disability, I'm working through his finances in his mind, and I just put reality to him, and I say, hey, this is the way it is. And he goes, that makes sense. And for $10 a week, are you kidding me? And he'll keep that plan for life, right? Because I didn't force feed him something he didn't need. I thought about what his needs were and what he has and what he can keep, and then carve out a plan designed for him, okay? Now go down. Why the heck would we go 90-90? 90-90, I think that's 13 weeks, right? If I'm not mistaken. So 90-90, he's doing math, finance guy. Am I right?
You're right.
All right. You know how I cheated. There's 13 weeks in a quarter and it's a 3-month period. And I didn't cheat, I just did the math. Yeah, I just did the math. But anyway, yeah, you did the real math. So at any rate, why would somebody do a 90-90? Well, if they have a 3-month paid for short-term disability, a group plan in place, you can pick it up at the 90th day and we can stop at the 90th day, carving out a 3-month time frame, filling in that void. And so what you tell them is this. When I was at Bed Bath & Beyond, I had a guy that came up to me, and we didn't have short-term disability at all. Our long-term disability kicked in 6 months. So he comes up, he's an assistant manager. We got him out of Home Depot over at Bed Bath & Beyond. And nice guy, very sharp. He got a nice family, beautiful family, unbelievable kids and everything. It was just amazing. So at any rate, he comes up and he's pissed. He's pissed. And he comes up to my office, can I have a talk with you? And I say, yeah, you can have a talk with me. His face is all beet red. And he goes, I just found out we don't have short-term disability. And I said, no, I don't even know what the heck that is. At that time, I didn't. And then he goes, but we have long-term disability. And I said, yeah, that kicks into 6 months. And he goes, so let me ask you a question. How do I feed my family? And this is where he got pissed. How do I feed my family from day one that I'm sick or hurt and I can't work to the 6-month mark? I'll lose my home. Like, what do I do? And he's pissed at me. I'm a manager. What the heck? I don't choose the options, right? But like, he has a legitimate point. Then when I interviewed with Aflac, I saw the dude's face and I go, man, that's exactly what he was asking for, right? Why didn't Bed Bath & Beyond offer that? So you gotta ask the business owner, what is the employee going to do between the 90th day that disability starts and the next 3 months? How are they going to pay their bills, right? Put common sense to it. Put a visual behind it. Limitations, pre-existing conditions, 12-12 rule. They didn't go into real deep detail on the Aflac Academy Connect, so I want to do that with you. So basically, guaranteed issue. Okay, there is a piece to this. We don't cover pre-existing conditions. Okay, you just don't come in and have to be diagnosed with cancer, and then we cover you for cancer because you signed up. You can't do that. The price would be thousands of dollars a month for disability if we just let everybody that got sick get on board when they get sick. We don't do it. So here's the thing. We can say yes to that person that's undergoing cancer treatments and anything else that you'll be treated for. Let's say you have a heart attack. Let's say you get in an accident. We can still provide you with short-term disability and it'll replace your income on day one of the policy. But anything that you've been treated for in the last 12 months will not be covered for the first 12 months of your plan. But think about this for a second. If they're undergoing stage 4 cancer treatments and they are still undergoing cancer treatments a year later, Aflac would start covering their disability on that cancer if they lasted the 12 years on the cancer treatments. I mean, we hope nobody goes through that, but I want to explain it. Now, how do you explain that to customers so they don't get scared off? Well, you say, listen, anything that you have been treated for in the last 12 months will be covered after 12 months. Anything new will be covered on day one of the policy. That's how I explain it. And it says the exact same thing. But what people are trying to do is find out what you're not covering in insurance because they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You got to watch your words. When they hear the word not, it sometimes cancels out a lot of your presentation. Okay. Waiting period. And I put this on here, but in Arizona, there's a specific law that's specific to our state. That's not specific to California, New Mexico, or Nevada. Most of our disability plans that we put out there in most states have a 30-day waiting period on sicknesses. In Arizona, you can't pay for a policy that you're waiting to use. That's in the law. Okay, so in other words, and I think you might have seen that in your testing. You can't pay for something that you're not able to use in Arizona. So we don't have a waiting period here. But if you're licensed in other states, just be aware, sickness does have a waiting period in a lot of them. 10-month exclusion, birth of a child. So the child, if we're covering disability for pregnancy, then what they've got to do is sign up before they start trying. And I'm just being real, I'm not trying to be funny about it. It's the truth. They have to have the baby 10 months after the policy is in effect. Somebody said, what if they're premature? They have to have the baby 10 months after they've signed up for the policy. And by the way, that is a part of Arizona state law. When you did your licensing, that was in there. So we're just going by state law on this. But the reason why, again, it would drive up premiums for everybody. If you got pregnant and I just got short-term disability, so I'm paid for 5 weeks on a regular delivery and 6 weeks on a cesarean, it would drive up prices for everyone. Okay, so that's why Arizona and Aflac has that in the policy. Union and credit union billing is not available, just so you know. Union and credit union billing is not available. There's a separate short-term disability that Aflac offers that's specifically to unions. Not available on government allotment. So I don't know if you know this or not, but if you run into a mail carrier, did you know you can sign them up and they get group rates? If you run into somebody that works for the federal government at the IHS, okay, they're paid by the federal government, so they can get group rates. You download the account, and Brendan can help you out, or your district manager can help you out. You can sign up anybody that's federally paid that's not active duty military, including I signed up the Border Patrol, Tucson sector, right? I called them. All I did was call them and set an appointment and said, hey, I got to come see your people. And here's how I do it with the government. I just do it real low key. You just say, hey, I got something to do. I got to come down there and educate your employees, talk very monotone. When can we see them? And then they set you up for enrollment. It's insane. The post office will not let you on the premises to sign people up, just to let you know. However, Forest Service you can go to the Forest Service, and you can get in front of the fire department. Some chiefs will let you get in front of the fire departments and talk to them. Why aren't we doing that? I mean, anyway.
We're county employees, or not county employees, but we have a forest ranger service here.
Yeah.
But they're run by the county. Is that paid by the federal government? I'm gonna have to find that out.
No, if it's federal, it's paid by federal government.
You got it.
Yeah, and I just go in there and say, hey, listen, all I got to do, at Aflac, we have a federal government allotment program. So my job is just to educate all federally paid employees. So is there a muster? Is there a time you get everybody together that I can just take 15 minutes of the meeting and just explain it? They might tell you no. Okay, it does happen to me. But when you get a yes, federally paid employees by Aflac. Applicants who are not declined for coverage can reapply for under GI options. So we're not a jerk of a company, we're a duck of a company. So we're very fuzzy, soft, and lovable, which means that if you can't get the higher, the $6,000 or the 12-month of coverage because you're declined, you can still reapply under GI options, get a 3 or 6 month benefit period. Not available for EDB accounts, right? And still not available for Piedmont, right? Okay, so not available for EDB or employee direct billing accounts. So terms, waiting periods for sickness is 30 days. Like I mentioned, it's not in Arizona. Totally disabled, if you're unable to work, and this is just terms, it's just explaining what it means. Unable to work at present job and is not working in any other job while disabled. Partially disabled, able to work some capacity but earning less than 80% of pre-disability income, pays 50% benefit, and it's a separate 3-month benefit. So if you have a 3-month benefit period and you exhaust it because you're sick or hurt and you can't work, and then you go on partial, or sometimes they call it transitional duty, right? And you're partially able to go back to work, Aflac will pay 50% for the next 3 months while you're going through transitional duty. Disability when not working full-time, considered total disabled if you're not able to perform 3 or more activities of daily living. ADLs is what that means. So what is ADLs? That's wiping yourself, that's able to shower yourself, dress yourself, feed yourself, those type of things. If you're missing 3 or more of those things, then even if you're not working full-time, Aflac will pay a portion of the benefit to you because you're not able to go out and look for work. This is a real disability, man. So claims, show and tell. I wanted to actually pull the claim, how to find the claim forms and actually show it to you instead of just tell you what you need. So statement from the insured. So it's a 1-page document, and I'm going to pull it up. statement from the employer. So it's a one-page doc, if I'm not mistaken, they just fill out. So that's usually HR. And then what I do for the employer, when we offer short-term disability, I give them a disability packet. I make a folder, and then I put their forms that they need to fill out in those. So I might put 4 or 5, maybe 6 of them in there. So I can just call HR and say, hey, Jimmy just got disabled. And she goes, I know. And then I say, hey, pull open that disability file. And if you could just fill out that form for him, that'd be great. Fax it over to me. And then I get a form from the doctor, and that would be the responsibility of the client to get that. And then I get a form from the client, okay? So it's just one-page docs. It's just verifying everything. You get all 3 docs together, you fax them into Aflac. But listen, if you're only able to get one, you fax it into Aflac. You never hold back claims for a customer if we're waiting additional documents. Now, I might keep that in a very secured, locked place and then fax all 3 at once when I obtain all 3, all right? But I'm going to fax that first sheet if all I get is the employer statement, for instance. And that just puts the foot in line for the customer to get paid. And then a claim statement from the physician. So I'm going to jump out of here, and I'm going to show you right on aflac.com. And what I do is if somebody calls me with a claim form, asks me for a claim form, this is what I tell them to do. Hey, you need a claim form? I'm driving down the road, right? I had to do this out of need because I drive a lot. I still answer calls and help customers. So when a customer calls me, I don't just dish them out to you unless I can't help them or they need specific help in your local market. So I just tell them, listen, go to aflac.com, go to the search box and type in claim form. Try to do this with some of our competitors. You can't get them. I wonder why. Anyway, so you pull up claim form. This is as easy as it is. You just, it says download and file an insurance claim. You click on that. It says downloading. Look how easy Aflac makes it. We want you to get paid on your claim. We're not trying to play around with people. And this, look how nice it is for the customer. So the first thing that they need to do is the initial disability, yeah. Second column there, initial disability. You pull the form open, and it's going to have, I believe, all the forms in one spot, which is really nice. This would be for the policy holder. Now, you can fill in everything that is in this top portion. All right, there's nothing wrong with you filling in the basic policyholder's information, but I would recommend that you verify their home address. Don't just get in what's on field for services. We want to check if they're not getting direct deposit to go to the right place. Notice it says box is the permanent address change, so be careful. Patient information, see these red boxes? You can fill that in, but you can't fill anything out below the red boxes. And the reason is, this has to be filled out by the insured. You cannot fill this out for them. It is considered fraud if you do. Do not do it. So you meet with them, or you fax it to them, or you tell them to go to aflac.com and pull it up. You can give them all their information, like their policy number, but then have them fill this out. Okay, very simple. Look, that's the employee. This is all they have to fill out. That's it. Now, employer statement. This is what you give to HR, that you can help them fill in any of these boxes that are above here, but you can't go any further. That's why Aflac did that. The employer has to fill this out. The problem is here. You have to educate the employer or HR manager on is the employee currently, here it is. If part-time light duty is or was the employee earning at least 80% of his or her pre-disability salary. Guys, sometimes people think real quick, a business owner, not usually HR, but business owner will think, well, I just wrote him his full check for his last 2 weeks of work, so yes, he is. If they mark yes, the disability claim will be denied. We'll have to refile it, and the employer has to fill out a new statement. Just educate them and say, listen, that is not for what they did prior, you know, the money they're getting for prior to them getting injured. It's for now going forward. Will they receive 80% of their income? Okay, that is what we're determining here. That's the only weird thing on this that I've had problems with, just so you know. And I just educate them. They go, okay, so I just check that box. And I say, well, you just check the appropriate box. You don't tell them what boxes to check. Initial disability claim form, physician statement. Listen, if you're doing this for pregnancy, just print this, have a couple of these forms printed out and give them to the lady because she's going to go in, she's going to have her baby. I want this in the go bag with the diapers and I'm serious. I want it in the go bag because when she's talking to the doctor, she can whip this thing out and say, can you sign this? It has to be signed by a physician. It cannot be signed by the office manager or a front desk clerk at a physician's office. So the hardest thing to do is get a hold of that doctor in is it OBGYNs usually? Yeah, OBGYN. It's hard to get a hold of them. Why? Because they're delivering babies. All right, and all the time. So listen, and they're tired usually. Can you imagine? You know, some deliveries can be very long. So here's the deal. Have her whip it out, have him fill it out and sign it, and then we get that doc. And bring her a little gift, a little duck or something cool, saying congratulations for your newborn baby. You know, do something nice. Visit your customers. Nothing wrong with that. So this is all they fill out, the physician, and they sign the bottom. So 1 page for the employee, 1 page for the employer, 1 page for the doctor. I hope this stuff is helpful, man. All right, almost done. So the Aflac Value Rider, this is brand new. And what we did was we did a study for specifically millennials. Now, those people that were doing that interview were pretty young, right? I don't know if they were millennials. Dude was kind of bald like me. But at any rate, that's supposed to be a joke. Did I go too fast? Anyway, if the employee does not have a claim and has the ASTD Value Rider, the client will receive a $1,000 benefit if they don't have a claim in the first 5 years they have the coverage, okay? If a claim has been made, the difference will be paid to as a benefit at the end of the 5-year time frame. If they used more than $1,000, Aflac will give them $100. Here's $100. Thanks for being our customer. There is not a disability plan that has a payback on it and on the planet. Aflac's the only one. It's really cool. But the thing is that millennials were saying, hey, but I buy this policy and I had it for 3 years and I didn't use it. And it's $10 a week or $11 a week. So they cancel it. Millennials, if you tell them, hey, we're going to give you $1,000 back and they're in year 3, they'll keep it a couple of years to get that $1,000, right? You know what I mean? So that is the encouragement behind it. This benefit resets. This is really cool. It resets every 5 years and they can receive $1,000 up to 5 times. That's neat. That is really neat. Do you get that from your auto insurance? No. Available 18 to 69. This rider itself, because obviously, so the policy, what happens is when they reach the age of 75, they're covered the year from 74 to 75, then it will terminate. It's one of the only policies we have other than like term life that will terminate at a fixed time. The other policies, accident, cancer, critical care and recovery, they will go all the way till they reach 120, if they make it that long. So, in fact, it doesn't have an expiration on it at all. So, easier to add additional coverage in the this is something that's new that I learned by retaking the class. So, easier to add additional coverage in the GI guidelines, $4,000 and $4,000 and 3 or 6 months of coverage. So, that means let's say somebody says, hey, my disability is $3,000 a month. I got a raise, or I'm now in charge, I'm the manager. So I had some things happen to me, and then you can bump them up to $4,000. But you can't go beyond the 3 or 6 months, and you can't go above that $4,000 for guaranteed issue coverage. A, B, and C classes only on the conversion, no E. It didn't mention E in the class. More than 40 units, which is $4,000, will require underwriting. Remember, it's simplified. There's not that many questions. So presenting Aflac short-term disability. All right, so I'm going to take it off screen share. Let's blow this thing up. Let's pin my video. Spotlight. All right. Look at these good-looking people, man. Wow. God bless. You might want to look at them instead of me. All right. So anyway, Deb's waving at you guys too. All right. So first thing is Aflac short-term disability, and I wore my Aflac shirt today. I'm proud of my name brand. I am so proud. Okay. I was putting my flag out, or actually taking it back in last night. I got a nice little flagpole. And the thing is, it sounds like I'm taking this flag. Why is he telling me about this? It's short-term disability. You're an American, all right? And, man, I'll tell you, every time I put that flag out or take it down, I think, man, I'm living my dream. I'm working with a Fortune 500 company. I have more than I've ever had before in my life, and it's not about things. It's about lifestyle. Guys, you live in the greatest country on the planet, and you work for the greatest company in America. I'm convinced of that, or otherwise I'd go find that company if there was one better. So go make the most of this. So at any rate, I'm very proud of my country and very proud of my company. So I hold the brochure up. Guys, if you need to make notes, let me give you some tips if you're new. Fear prevents you from action. So I want to remove fear right now from your mind in short-term disability. So I used a bunch of hacks, and here's my hacks. I get nervous in front of people. You wouldn't think so now, but I used to get really, really nervous. And so I wrote the plan right on the back of the form and my talking points. So I'm always advertising the duck, and I know what I look like I know what I'm talking about. Fake it till you make it, okay? I'm just being real. So my name's Eric Peterson, and we are your short-term disability provider here at Aflac. And Ted here at ABC Concrete has invited us in because he realizes that the best benefit you have, the biggest benefit you have to working is your paycheck. So we're here to provide you with short-term disability, but here's the cool thing. Aflac puts you in the driver's seat when it comes to short-term disability. You get to design your own plan, when it kicks in, how much you get, and how long it lasts for. We're just here to explain your options, and then you get to choose your own options and take your benefits where you want them to go. Now, short-term disability is real short-term disability. And what that means is it's considered income replacement. When you get sick or hurt and you can't work, how are you going to pay your bills? How do you pay your, think about it. You rely on that paycheck every single week. What's going to happen when that paycheck stops when you're sick or hurt and you can't work? So Aflac short-term disability kicks in right away. We start paying on day one of the accident. So the first day that you stop missing work, you're going to start getting Aflac replacement income. And on the second week of the sickness. How long can this coverage last? It can last you up to 24 months. So we will keep paying you for up to 24 months while you're sick or hurt and you can't work. Now, most people don't need 24 months of coverage, and nor should they pay for it. If you're concerned with injuries, then you might want to get a 3 or 6 month benefit period. Okay, you'll pay a lot less for that than you will for 24 months. But listen, if you're more concerned with cancer, heart attacks, and strokes, you may want to look at getting a 12, 18, or 24-month policy. So what you do is you take your concerns into consideration and you fit yourself into the right short-term disability program. Now, I was helping a customer out, and she said to me, she goes, Eric, I don't know that I need short-term disability, but on her benefit questionnaire was checked off. And when I met with her, she said, you know what, my husband died, and he left me with a lot of life insurance money. And I said, well, ma'am, I'm sorry to hear that. And she said, yeah, but here's the thing. I just want to know, even though I have that money in the bank, I want to know that my house is paid. I want to know that I got a home to come home to. And I said, hey, no problem. So what's your mortgage? She said, $1,200. She was eligible for $4,000 a month of disability benefits. We took it down to $1,200. So you can pick out when it kicks in, how long it lasts, and how much you get. And you get to design your plan. So here's what I recommend you do. Make sure that you take the time right now to write down next to short-term disability on the interest form how much you would need every single month just to pay your bills. Okay? And then I go into the accident plan. So here's the thing, very short, very sweet, right? But when they write that dollar amount down on the interest form, they bought the policy. They bought it. They bought it themselves. Because then what happens is when that interest sheet slides over and you get to look at it and they say, man, my wife works, she's really the breadwinner. But man, with our budget, it takes 2 incomes to support the house. So really $800 a month would really help me out. That's fine. But listen, you have that number there. Now, Brendan, do you want to step up and talk about the form?
Oh, yeah, there's a little calculation form that.
So this is Brendan Fox, our newest district sales coordinator in Arizona and brand new to the Alliance.
Hi, guys. Good morning. So kind of on this sheet, and this should be included in the web ordering that you have. You can actually fill out this, and it's a worksheet, so you can find out how much they would need to cover all their bills and expenses and build them a plan that fits their specific needs versus trying to fit them into a cookie cutter sort of deal where you just sign them up for a 7-7 plan or a 14-14 plan. This kind of gives them a better idea of what they'd actually be looking at. And then you can find out what they're going to be actually paying on the back of here. And so you can build a plan that's going to work for their budget and their expenses at the same time.
Perfect. Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate that, man. I wish I could get in front of the camera more often. He's much better looking than I am. And all right, so now we're on.
Where do you find the form again?
Good question. Web ordering, and let me just give you the form number right now. M as in Mary. Thank you, Mary, for asking. So M as in Mary, 1755R. Then there's a dot and 1. Now, what I would do in the search engine when you go into web ordering, just type in M1755R, and it should just pull it up for you. Okay, the latest version.
Thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome.